Well, hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to Live with Leslie. I'm Leslie Bytel, business strategist and mentor specifically for functional nutrition and functional medicine practitioners in private practice. And I'm really excited to have you here with us today. So, for those of you that are working with women, specifically in the area of helping them to lose that stubborn belly fat, you are in the right place. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Today, we'll be chatting with Tammy and Lyssie from the nutritiontwins.com. Go ahead and check them out, nutritiontwins.com. We'll be talking about the cause of stubborn belly fat, really kind of looking at those root causes and giving you some strategies to help you to better help your clients. So, the title for today's session is The Secrets to Reducing Stubborn Belly Fat. So, our goal is to arm you with some additional knowledge to help identify the culprit, the underlying culprits leading to this problem, so you can attack them directly with your work with clients. So, I want to welcome our guests. I'm really excited to have you both. We've
Thank
got
you.
me and
Thanks.
Tammy again from the Nutrition Twins coming to us from New York City, the Big Apple.
Hi, Leslie. We're so excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Really,
much for having us.
really happy to have you and looking forward to our chat today. So yeah,
Too.
why don't we kick things off instead of me reading your bios? Give me a little bit of the backstory, how you came to specialize in this area, maybe a little bit about the work that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Well, we came to specialize in this area. Um, we knew right out of high school what we wanted to do, that we wanted to be. Well, I knew, and Tammy always followed whatever I did, so she decided she knew. Anyway,
She always says that. I knew too, Leslie, just so you know.
it started
You
off.
guys both knew.
We both knew. She likes to say, and I let it slide. But we both knew that we were like real. We very athletic. We played sports. We grew up in a really healthy household. And when we left our mom's healthy household on game day for our sports, we would just go crazy with all the sugary food that we didn't have. And it made such a difference in how we felt and how we realized how we played. And it really sparked us to want to go this direction. And then regarding the weight loss, we just saw right away so many people struggling. We had a frozen yogurt addiction. And while we were athletic, we were getting away with a little bit of murder, but we didn't understand how people could enjoy their favorite foods and like not go off the deep end with them. And so it sent us down this road of like, we didn't give up until we found the answers. And once we found it and we cracked the code for this, we wanted to share it with others. And we're like a little bit of a science nerd. So as more research has come along and really over the years, stubborn fat is changed from what it used to be. So we combine.
So we've written books about this, and then from the books we got on all these media shows, and it's very interesting because a lot of the information we've shared over the years has kind of morphed, and maybe especially from our first book, the research has changed a lot, because in the beginning, everyone was saying, it was, you want to keep eating for the metabolism, never let that, keep it humming all day long. And now we know your gut needs a rest. So there's a lot of changes over time, which has been really interesting.
So
and
yeah. Well, because sometimes we still hear that, right? Like,
yes,
you eat, like don't let yourself get hungry, right?
Yeah.
And what we find, and there's some truth to that, but what we find with the stubborn belly fat is that a lot of those old rules are just out the window. And so we have different programs now. We have like a 21-day body reboot that really is just 21 days, and it really teaches the principles to get people metabolically healthy, and they have great results, losing like 5 to 10 pounds and keeping it off. It gives them the tools. And then we also have things like it's a one-on-one transformation jumpstart, and we guide them through the whole process of the support, like really working with the stubbornness, which we'll get into today, why fat loss can be so stubborn, why it's so frustrating, and really what you can do about it, because there is a lot, but there's a lot to consider, and sometimes it's too much for people on their own. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's dig in. What, if you were to share some of the causes, what would you say?
Yeah. Well, the really interesting thing is there's not just one cause for stubborn belly fat or stubborn fat in general.
There's
There,
never one
there's
cause.
never just one cause. I think we all know that with nutrition,
Yeah.
but there are many causes. So things like gut health come into play, hormones, a poor diet, lifestyle, and then toxins are a biggie.
And what we'll say about that before we delve into stubborn fat, we have to acknowledge that the core fundamental of fat loss is calories in versus calories out, meaning that the amount of calories that you ingest versus the amount of calories you burn is still the most important factor in fat loss. So if you take in more calories than you burn off, you'll very likely gain weight, and it will very likely be a large percentage from body fat. And if you eat fewer calories than you burn off, you'll very likely lose weight. And a proportion of that will be body fat. What makes this very complicated is that now evidence has really shown that a calorie is not a calorie. So, and this, what we mean by this is particularly true as evidence shows that specifically ultra processed foods, when we eat them, they're processed very differently in the body to make us store fat.
So think of it this way, because it can be a little confusing. So anytime you eat say you eat 300 calories of a food, that food is going to go into your body the same way. However, the difference is the way your body metabolizes it. So let's think of, say, for example, let's take lentils. Lentils are packed with fiber and protein and antioxidants. We say we have 300 calories worth of lentils and we eat them. What's going to happen is then, because of the fiber and the protein, those carbohydrates are digested slowly. The pancreas kicks out some insulin at a steady rate. The carbohydrates are broken down and taken into the cell for energy. Great. Well, what happens when we have 300 calories of, say, a sugary cereal that has some additives and some food dyes? Well, those 300 calories go in the same way, but as soon as they go into the body, that blood sugar spike, cortisol, the belly fat hormones released, it triggers inflammation. Inflammation makes weight loss harder, weight gain easier. And then the real kicker on top of it all is then the pancreas has to kick out all of this insulin to get the sugar into the cell. So imagine you have that sugary breakfast cereal every day. Every day you're triggering cortisol, the belly fat hormone. Every morning, or if you're having that breakfast cereal, you're triggering inflammation that's making weight loss harder. And the pancreas has to keep working to get all of that sugar into the cell. And then you say, and the sugar is being used for energy. And then on top of that, let's say maybe you haven't been as active as you should be, or you've gained a little weight. Well, suddenly it's really hard for insulin to do its job. So the pancreas starts to kick out more and more insulin, and it becomes overworked. And so the liver steps in to help out, and it takes some of that blood sugar and makes it into triglycerides. And that those triglycerides are what gets stored into the body as white visceral fat. And this visceral fat is so damaging, and we're going to get into why in a second and why it's so stubborn. But I just wanted to also go back to the point of why when you eat 300 calories of the lentils, it does not get metabolized the same way as the 300 calories of the processed sugary cereal. And let's start with just a couple other things. So say you have the lentils. They go into your body with antioxidants and fiber, and they actually are going to improve gut health. They nourish the good bacteria in the gut. So that's going to favor weight loss. The antioxidants, they lower inflammation. So that also will help to tame any weight. On the other hand, take that sugary cereal that's packed with on top of the sugar that causes inflammation and makes weight gain easier. It also then is going to nourish with all those additives and preservatives and the sugar. It actually feeds the bad bacteria in our gut, which then also triggers more weight gain. So it's all of these things come, and that's why a calorie, those 300 calories in, the body doesn't take them and process them the same way. Okay. So it's a lot, but that's why. So that's why a calorie doesn't equal a calorie when it comes to different foods. Not anymore. So back to the visceral fat, which is the stubborn fat.
Talk about that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So
How
that's
does one know if they have visceral fat? Is there a way to know?
Yeah.
the,
I mean, the subcutaneous kind is a kind you can pinch on the surface.
Yeah.
Visceral is the kind that's wrapped deep within our organs. So typically, I mean, it's actually a lot of it's stored on in the belly a lot of times. So
Okay.
like, but also like a lot of people like it's, you know, if you kind of feel like say you have a big belly, but it's not necessarily like you might be able to pinch a lot of subcutaneous kind too, but you feel like there's some underneath there.
Oh, okay.
That's
they
more
can,
likely.
I mean, they can test with like, I mean, it's hard to test because it like to get a really like it's expensive to like really do some kind of like imaging. But what we find is that most people, I mean, if we look at their metabolic health, if you are one of those people that has stubborn fat and it just won't budge, this is likely you. And if we're about to give you some of the reasons why, so you can probably recognize very easily whether or not you have visceral fat if you're suffering with extra belly fat. And one of the reasons that this visceral fat, it's not just so stubborn, like not just frustrating, because it makes us feel like all of our weight loss efforts aren't working. So if that's you, that's probably a good sign. But it's also super dangerous, this visceral fat, because it acts like an organ within itself and it wreaks metabolic havoc on the body. So while reducing calories and creating the calorie deficit is always important, not a starvation diet or not a super low calorie diet or anything like that is important. That alone will not work with the stubborn fat. You have to address the metabolic issues that are underlying. And what really shocks people is that generally the main cause for the stubborn belly fat is problems with insulin sensitivity. And you don't have to have diabetes for this to happen. And in fact, you really don't even have to have pre-diabetes. So this really shocks so many people because it really it can totally be the way that you're eating. And there's a few small fixes that can really help.
Yeah.
All right. So insulin sensitivity.
Right. And something
I'm hearing all about that. Like, how does a person know
Yeah.
if they have that problem? Is
Well,
are you saying it's because they've got the stubborn belly fat? That's
an easy way.
Right.
They can also use things like continuous glucose monitors. But honestly, that's the easiest way. Like I know you love your continuous glucose monitor.
You're so good about it.
So good about it. That's amazing. It can be very eye-opening because you see the swing.
Oh.
You see how your body responds. You can check your
when I did that. Let me tell you. Ooh, I changed a lot of things.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So yeah, that's a way a lot of people can start to see like, oh my gosh, I'm eating this food and it's just not, my blood sugar is just not going down, you know, it's staying up.
Okay. Well, mine would go up and then it would crash.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't staying up for me. It was like I'd get this increase and then
and what that actually generally means when I see that with my client is it's a sign that trouble is brewing. Because your body can pump out too much insulin and overshoot it. That happened to me as well. Pumps out too much insulin. That's because it thinks that it's like, oh boy, what do I do about this? It doesn't know. So it's still a sign that your insulin's working. It brings you low blood sugar, so you crash. Yeah. But if you that means you're overshooting and you're pumping out too much insulin, and that can create problems so that you can become insulin resistant because you keep pumping it out. So yeah, that happened to me as well.
Yeah, that was my big eye opener, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And I want to point out one other thing why this visceral fat can be so stubborn. So when we get toxins and say it's from pesticides in our food or poor food choices or stress or alcohol, I mean, it can be numerous things. It can be pollution in the environment, anything that is a toxin to our body works really hard. It does not want to put our organs in harm's way. So it shuttles those toxins off into the fat cells to keep the body safe. So that means those fat cells become kind of like a toxic dump for all of the waste and toxins. And so we don't want to release, so they're inflamed. There's a lot of inflammation going on there, but the body doesn't want to release those toxins because then it's going to put it right back into the bloodstream and put the organs in harm's way. So it really sequesters that fat in the fat cells. The toxins.
Yeah, and so that makes you just don't want to. Why do you want to release that? So that's one of the reasons it becomes stubborn as well, which makes it even more important that you're choosing healthier foods.
Yeah.
Okay. So the toxins are stored in this fat and the body's hanging on to that because the body is I always like to say the body's built to win, right? At the end of the day,
I love that.
Me
we're
too.
built in. And you know, the body is trying to protect us.
Absolutely right. So it makes it even like we just don't want to let go of it. And then this visceral fat as well, which is something that a lot of people don't realize when it's sequestered in there, it becomes this organ of itself, which is pretty scary. And it's secreting hormones and chemicals and it that control our fat storage. So
Okay.
it's creating leptin to control our hunger. So our fat stores are telling us that we're hungry. It's creating adiponectin to tell us to control our blood sugar, which is very scary as well. And actually, worst of all, is it's creating cytokines. And these are inflammatory pieces that just like inflammation is the root of all disease. It triggers obesity, cancer, heart disease, and inflammation makes weight gain much easier and weight loss much more challenging. And then also, of course, it's like this fat is constricting our blood vessels and making us raise our blood pressure. So it is just, it's dangerous. So let alone how that we just hate how it looks, you know, it is not good for us.
Yeah,
It is
but that's
very
okay.
complex.
It is very complex. But
It's
we're going to make it simple with a few tips to kind of just get people going and get it.
Yeah.
Because you do want to mobilize the fat. That's very
It's
important.
just wild to me. I just have to say, no, like I'm aging myself, but like, oh my God, it's so different. I mean, compared to when I went to school.
Yeah.
All about calories in versus a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes, of course.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
And
And P.S. there was no such thing as the microbiome, right?
I
It was like,
I mean,
it was
I
like
now it's like
a food tube, right? Just for
yes,
digestion. It had no other purpose other than just processing food.
right.
Right.
I
It's
mean, now we've got microbiomes in our mouth and our skin everywhere. It's like so much is, you know, there's just
and
a
I
lot.
remember, oh my God, when my first clients, like I started to see with this metabolic issue, I was like, what the heck? They must be lying about their calories in, calories
right?
out. And
Oh
then,
my God, you bring up such a good point because Lyssie, seriously, like, come on now. If you're reporting accurately, like you should be losing weight, but
yeah,
you didn't realize how complex the stubborn body fat really
yeah,
is.
yeah, I really thought that. I was like so disappointed that my client felt she couldn't be honest with me because I felt like I'm so not judgmental. Then here she was, like not being honest. It was horrible. But what I find with those people, particularly regarding the toxins, is
Yeah.
that their diet doesn't feed the microbiome as well because it's not as nutrient rich, and they use a lot more of like the bars and the processed foods.
Oh,
So it's more challenging because their metabolism is already challenged. It's not getting fed. It's already a
okay.
sign, even though it's not the ultra processed food that the
Like the nutrition bars.
yeah.
We
So
think we're doing good, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
protein bar, I'm going to get, 25 grams of protein. I can totally relate to that as well. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people probably can. You're busy, you're on the go.
100%.
I'm kind of a little proud of myself for this. So I made that decision like, okay, I got to stop buying bars. Like, it's so easy to make them. So anyway,
That's impressive.
That
I
is
know.
We need
I
your
gotta,
recipe.
I
We
gotta
need your
pat myself on the
recipe.
back where I can because I'm not like a culinary genius, let me tell you.
Oh my God, good for you. We
I
have
love
a no
the
bake bar on
science,
our
but
site.
like implementing, that's a whole nother story. So yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
like,
that's
all right,
great. We
it's
do have a no bake bar on our site that is like
ooh,
some people just are so busy. We're in New York City, they don't have time. So we find like we're our favorite bar got discontinued, of course, but we have like a few organic options that are much, that kind of thing because it's the way to go making your own. I mean,
yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna look on your site for that no bake bar. Love that. All right, so what do we do? We're in a conundrum, right? I think
yes, we
everyone
are.
is here. Any ladies here? I mean, men too, but I don't know, like you hit 40 and let me
Yeah.
tell you,
Yeah.
you start to see the love handles and the shifts are unbelievable. Like, muscle mass. It's like, wait a second, I used to have, muscular legs and like, where'd that six pack go? It is
Yeah. Yeah.
invisible. So what do we do?
Right. So the goal is to mobilize the fat and use it for energy as you reduce the toxins, reduce the inflammation, and also address the metabolic issues. So the way that we kind of go in after this is you first want to look at those blood sugar imbalances. That's going to be the key to really starting things getting stable. And then what you want to do is you want to look at gut dysbiosis. It's a big one. And then the diet and lifestyle factors. And Tim,
and then you want to look at micronutrient deficiencies, because if you're not absorbing your nutrients, your metabolism is not going to be working efficiently. You're also going to look at thyroid and things like that, because that plays a major role with your metabolism as well. And then the biggie also, that now, because we have so many more toxins in our environment than we used to, is inflammation. And that can be coming from toxins and pollution and the pesticides on our food. But also we look into stress and lifestyle and how active you are and all of these things, because they all play a role.
Yeah. And so we have a bunch of tips that we're going to give you today to make it simple, because that is a lot. It's kind of like a few little snippets of our process there. But one of the things that can be really helpful is using the 30-30-30 rule. And it's just generally, it's a heavy hitter, really gets in. It means you want to look for 30 grams of protein per meal, stabilize blood sugar, no more than 30 grams of carbs per meal, and 30 grams of fiber a day. So if you delve into this, how it's addressing the issue is that first you are getting that, 20 to 30 grams of protein is a good amount to keep that blood sugar stable. So you're not getting those spikes that we're talking about that really just trigger that insulin, keep making you push out more insulin. So you preserve your pancreas. And
it's like a growth hormone, right?
Yeah, it really
is. That's how I look at it. It's like a building. I don't know if I'm using the right language, but
no, absolutely it is. It's a fat storage hormone.
Yes,
but we need it. It's very important whether or not you're you need it to take this sugar to the cells to be used. And if the sugar builds up in the blood, you're in trouble. So but the problem is, if we have to keep pushing out so much insulin, that's when we get problems with our insulin sensitivity. It just can't keep doing its job the same way. It's like, it's overworked. So when you have protein, it stabilizes the blood sugar. You don't get that big boost where the insulin's like, holy moly, I gotta put out all the troops. It's just like, all right, nice little boost. And then it also keeps you satiated. Muscles are a very important part, which we'll get to for this whole picture, having this whole picture, but you need protein to feed your muscles and just to keep you satiated. And then the 30 grams of carbs, limiting to that or less, that's still a decent amount of carbs, but it's not going to shock the system so that you're getting so much that the pancreas is like, oh my God, what are you doing, sister? Like, this is crazy. It's just like, got it. And
it's portion control too. Then it makes you very aware when you follow the 30-30-30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you've got the portion control, and then the 30 grams of fiber is great, because then you're focusing on the nutrient dense foods, and those foods are feeding the microbiome. So that's all great, versus like if you're just doing, just eating whatever, and you're not getting the good fiber to feed your metabolism. So that's just a good rule of thumb. It's pretty easy for people to remember. We know the 30 grams of protein per meal is like a tricky one for people, but 20 to 30 is a good starting ground.
Okay. And then, so another
for you. I don't want to.
What'd you say, Leslie? Sorry.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, so most of us, we don't know, like, what does 30 grams of protein look like?
Ooh, good question.
30 grams of fiber, like, I have no idea. And I gotta be honest with you, just saying, like, I'm a little bit more like a lay person now, because I haven't been seeing patients in time. So I don't know, quite frankly. I think, like, okay, I'm going to try to really focus on protein, but I have no idea how much
that's a great question. If you get about 3.5 ounces of like a traditional protein, like chicken breast, you'll be between 20 and 30 for sure.
Okay.
And same with like a fish or something like that. If you're talking like a Greek yogurt, if you get like a non-fat yogurt, because that concentrates the protein because you're taking out some of the fat, you get one of those yogurt cups. Some of those are about 17 grams. You add some nuts. It can be much more tricky with plant protein, which is why a lot of people use the protein powders, like
Okay.
Some of those powders can get you 20, 21, 22 grams with, their serving size. And so then generally it's like adding a few things like some nuts or like, or something like that. So, but the traditional protein of the meat sources are the easiest.
Okay.
If you have 3 eggs, which is a lot, you get to 18. And then,
Okay.
you add a little bit of like what you're having with your meal. Lots of ways people like just add in a few extra grams is with the fat sources with the nuts or the nut butter. But yeah, so those are a few examples. Does that help?
It does.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it does.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. So another easy tip that we love so much is after you eat, if you could just go for a 15-minute walk, and we're not saying like it has to be a race walk, your food is digesting, but just out the door and moving, it's so beneficial because not only is it good for your brain in terms of just like getting fresh air, but also what it does for your blood sugar is magical because anytime you're moving, it's going to take that sugar. It's like you're just helping the pancreas so much because it doesn't have to kick out as much insulin. You can take that sugar out of the blood into the working muscle, and it's a huge jump start. And the really cool thing is, it's just moving, any kind of movement for 15 minutes after, but taking a walk can be a great way for partners to kind of like get together. And we were out to dinner with some friends, and one of these couples were like, oh, we're going to go. They do every night after their meal, they just go for a little walk. And she was wearing like really high stilettos. So, and she was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, good for them. I'm like, I don't think I could walk that far, but they weren't, my point being is that they weren't going that fast. It's just the fact of them moving, getting that sugar into the blood is so great. So
Yeah,
it's so helpful.
and I would just add,
I'm sorry, the sugar into the cell.
we don't want to make it like punishment for eating. Like, okay,
Right.
so it's just like a little something that you do, just
Right.
Excellent
Enjoyable. Exactly.
Excellent
That's the whole point. Enjoyable. It doesn't, we're not talking about a race walk or exercise or
Right.
changing your clothes. She was wearing
Hey,
her stilettos. I was like, way to lower your blood sugar.
Right. It's just, it can be way more leisurely. So one thing that I do, and with exercise, I might be a little atypical, we'll say, but I got I got a trampoline. Like a rebounder. So not like the kind where you bounce,
Right, you got the one for the bones, the rebounder.
Did I got a little
amazing,
rebounder.
Awesome.
I have that in my living room, so that's part of our decor.
I love it.
But I don't like it. It's kind of like on the calf muscles. Yeah, it's kind of a lot. So anyway, I just try. I know this isn't much, but I go, okay, I'm gonna do 6 minutes.
Great.
That's
I mean, that's athletic. That's a lot more than a walk in stilettos.
Yeah. 6 minutes of just very gentle. And I figure, that is because it's very cold here.
Yeah.
And it's like,
oh no, I think that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so great. And that's like, exercise itself without going in, like, I think that's kind of a given, but exercise just in terms of stubborn fat and the insulin sensitivity issues and problems, that's the beauty of movement and exercise. You kind of like don't need the insulin the same way. It does its job. It's like, whoa, all right, we've sugar in the blood, and you're moving. Like, I'm gonna suck that right into my body, into my muscles to use them.
I could. Oh my gosh, like I could really, like if I move afterwards, it's completely level. So yeah, really helping to avoid those huge spikes and crashes.
Yeah. Well, another way that we have our clients do, something we have them do, is we have them have their vegetables, start their meal with their vegetables. So like say you're out to dinner or even at home. Our mom used to when we grew up, she used to always do this. She knew nothing about the blood sugar, but we'd always start our meal with a salad. And that fiber is going to slow the digestion. So it doesn't allow the carbohydrates to give you a spike like they would otherwise if you had the carbohydrates first. So just having that vegetable first. So to make it a little more real life, like, I go to this restaurant a lot and I get this meal with shrimp and broccoli and, but if it's all mixed together with the carbohydrates and everything. But if you can just really enjoy and have a couple pieces of the broccoli or the vegetable first, it's amazing that actually can really help your blood sugar. So if you can just be a little mindful and make a habit of starting with some of the vegetables first, it's great. And it also takes that edge off of hunger. and fills you up a little bit more with the vegetables for people who are trying to lose
So you
weight.
eat less.
Yeah, you eat less. So
Yeah.
Love that one because I mean, think about it. There's a reason our moms always said, eat your vegetables, eat your
Right.
vegetables, eat them first. I mean, there's a reason why
Yeah.
start with salad, right? Or
Only
Absolutely.
and we were the worst. We used to feed it to our neighbor's dog. Like we were the real like story of like we're truly transformed. Like
well,
our
when I
vegetable
had
salads.
salad, it was, let me just tell you, I mean, it was like iceberg lettuce and wishbone. That was yeah, that was
So funny.
salad
Yeah,
I
we
grew
get
up
it.
on.
We get it. Well,
Which
I'll tell you another really fun tip that I live for.
Yeah.
Tammy always teases me. So one of the reasons that we also have problems with insulin sensitivity, and this one surprised a lot of people, it's more people that are like high strung, like us and our mom, is just being on the go, anxious, stressed. Like even if you don't notice it, we're those people that we always have so much going on. Internally, there has to be stress going on. And so that causes blood sugar to go up. And that is a very common one. And then it's kicking out insulin, even you might not have even eaten anything. So one of the things that I love doing, so you've probably heard of like holy basil tea. I don't know if this is showing up backwards, but holy basil tea, it's the same as Tulsi. It is one of those adaptogens, meaning that it helps to work with your body. And adaptogens are so popular these days to lower the stress in the body. And when you lower the stress in the body, you're not pumping out that blood sugar as much. And this isn't going to happen overnight, but it's a gradual process. And so what I do with these, like if you don't want to drink the tea, some people are big tea drinkers, which I used to be, but I found a much better way to consume it. I make, because I love popsicles, I make popsicles. I put my collagen in, I put my green tea, and I put this in, a drop or two of stevia. So anyway, I get it daily and it just takes the edge off, and it really helps you to be more metabolically friendly, and it helps that stubborn visceral fat because you're giving your pancreas a break by not pumping out the insulin as much. It's kind of keeping you level. Some people notice a difference, kind of like with ashwagandha or something. You pick different ones.
Oh, that's great tip. That's a new one. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
She's so good about it. I'm trying. She gets
me. You have a good one. You have a good one too. Should I share it?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I'll show you.
So Tammy, so what another great thing to do is psyllium husk. It's a fiber, or you have it good.
I keep it usually in a dark cabinet, but I do move it to my glass.
Yeah.
Less glass container.
So if you want to start your morning, like you put it in your lemon water, she puts it in her smoothie. And what it does is it tempers blood sugar, because that's that fiber that you wouldn't normally necessarily have so much. Like in the morning, it's great to already temper your blood sugar in something. And it also feeds the good gut bacteria to favor weight loss. So it's good. Now, unfortunately, I had a food sensitivity to it, of course. So it's out the door for me, but she lives it up for us both.
I love the texture. What'd you say? Where
do you get it? Like,
I actually do. So this, we don't work with them right now, or anything, but this is actually just organic India. I like the texture of theirs. It's actually thicker for me. I like that thicker when I add it to my smoothie. If you're just trying to drink down something quickly, then I would use less. I actually use a good deal. I use almost 2 tablespoons in my smoothie.
She should be the one with the sensitivity, to be honest.
I was actually thinking of that last night. Don't make me cry. I really enjoy it. It makes such a good texture in the smoothie. So
not everybody agrees with the texture, so don't get discouraged.
Right. If it's too thick, start a small amount. But also it's really good because it can help to lower cholesterol, things like that.
Yeah. I used to like the brand Terrasol.
Too much for most people.
I used to like the brand Terrasol.
Right. So and you can get that at a grocery store, at the market, they have that.
I feel like I'm better off online. Not all markets have these organic things that we like,
Yeah.
So,
we do. We do like the organic ones because we just want to lower that pesticides.
Always. Okay,
and
that's
then,
a great tip.
So another thing that we always suggest that our clients do before they go out to eat is just have a small amount of protein. You just kind of take the edge off hunger, but also start your meal so you automatically have a stabilized blood sugar. So like a little thing of almonds, just like this. We're not saying much, a small amount, maybe 10, just something, a little can of sardines some of my clients do, just to take, get some nutrients and some protein to slow the digestion. If you're going to go and say you're going into a meal and you're like, I dive right into that bread basket, have that little tin of almonds or the little, or like a little can of sardines or something to temper that blood sugar first.
Yeah.
before.
Ooh, I want to tell you another one. This happens to be one of my favorites, but I have a lot of little favorite tricks that I do. And I always think, I'm like, I don't do anything. I'm like, oh yes, I actually do a lot. One of them is the apple cider vinegar. You've probably heard of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh my gosh. You put, oh, you have yours out too. I don't think you use it the way I do. I don't mean to brag, but most things that we do the same, I'm going to do it better.
The twin competition.
Yeah, always.
So what I do, and Tammy, maybe you do it too, I doubt it, is I put a tablespoon of the apple cider vinegar into water. And I actually love it. I drink it through a straw so it doesn't, cause acid on my teeth and rinse out my mouth afterward. But I actually really like the flavor. I enjoy it. But what it does for the body is it actually lowers blood sugar. So, and it eases digestion. And when I used to recommend it to my clients, they'd always say, I feel so much less bloated after a meal. And I noticed the same is true for me. It kind of helps to break down the digestion. And that's important for visceral belly fat as well, because if you're having lots of digestion problems going on in the gut, that's causing inflammation in the gut. That's causing a whole host of problems that make visceral fat easier because you've got more inflammation. So this really, it breaks down the food, it lowers blood sugar, it eases digestion. It's beautiful. Now, not everybody loves apple cider vinegar. I happen to, and a lot of my clients happen to and love also just how good it makes them feel.
Yeah, and some people like
When I am hearing more about that. I've never done that myself.
Yeah, start with, you know what, I would say for anyone out there, start with a teaspoon first. Like a tablespoon's a lot for, like, just make sure you feel good with it.
Mix it with water.
A cup of water.
Okay.
And also because, you want to start slow. If you don't like the flavor, I happen to really like it. So like I'll pour way more than a tablespoon sometimes.
Okay.
But
and you can also sometimes, if you just want to, if you don't want to put in the water, some people splash a little on their salad if you're having that salad before the meal, because it does the same thing. It's still going to temper the blood sugar, still getting in your body the same way. So.
Okay, love that. I mean, I like using that vinegar on salad. I don't know if it's always apple cider, but something to think about. Yeah, I've never tried that. And I know there is some data supporting that.
Yes, we actually have a article on our website. Is apple cider vinegar worth all the hype? And it gives some of the research and like some of the winning things, because it's also been shown to help lower weight.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys have shared so many great tips. Let me ask you just as we start to wrap up our conversation, tell us a little bit more about how you work with your clients, right? So I know like the traditional medical model is kind of a la carte, right? Like come see me whenever you feel like it. Tell me a little bit about your approach and how it differs.
Yeah, well, that traditional model we used to follow, and it was so disappointing for everyone. Our clients didn't get results. We would be wondering, did they get the results? Because they just really didn't come back so much. They think they have the information, and whether they were embarrassed because they couldn't follow, the tips or whatever, it wasn't successful for anyone. It wasn't rewarding for us. So now we see clients for a period of at least 4 months, and we find that amount is enough to help. We really have a high level of hand holding. So to make sure that we help them to roll with the punches, so they actually can keep growing and learning how to incorporate everything into their life and their habits already, and tweaking things gradually. And it's a way that we get really good results. So we do get really good results with our clients. And sometimes with something like stubborn fat, it might take more than 4 months. They might see some results, but like there's still always more to do. But getting that 4 months right out the get-go, like it allows us to really everyone to understand it's a process. And so we're not someone for a quick fix, because while they might get results very quickly, they might not. And those results that come very quickly, we all know they generally are not something that's lasting. So that's,
I love that. So you're working in like a 4-month container.
Right.
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah.
It's like a 4-month package, so they can pace themselves, they can create wins for themselves along the way. And then also we can really show them how long they've come. Like we do questionnaires and evaluations from the beginning until as we go along, so they can see the progress that's been made along that time point. And they also have some structure knowing what's coming next for them.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Instead, because people, let's be honest, it's a struggle to make these changes. And the thing
Yeah.
is it's not just about knowledge. If it were just about knowledge, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Right.
Enough,
Right.
stuff on
Right.
the internet, it's not just about acquiring the knowledge or the secret,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If
Right. You
there's
could,
not,
right. Absolutely. You can
there is
Google.
no such thing.
No, I mean,
Um,
you can Google how to lose stubborn belly fat, but our nation is still very overweight. Like it doesn't really,
Thank you.
you need to know how to apply it. So, and in your lifestyle, we find
Really-
very much in the lifestyle, that's the key. That's what we're really,
Yes.
that's what we happen to really focus on. Is like, you can hear like, do this tip or do this tip, but you're like, I don't have 2 seconds to like start measuring out apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar. Like it's not part of my, we help people to work something that's realistic into their life.
Yes. You make it happen.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I like to say. Yeah, you can acquire like all kinds of tips and strategy, all of that, but you help your clients to do it and to make it happen and to be successful for the long term. And
Right.
you're putting people in this initial like 4-month experience where you're giving them support and accountability and troubleshooting. I love that. And education, of course,
Yeah.
which is really incredibly powerful. Tell us
Thank
how
you.
how can we learn more about your work?
Okay. Well, our website is nutritiontwins.com, or on Instagram. We're trying to be more active there. So we will be at Nutrition Twins.
Okay.
And we're on TikTok. We're on all of Facebook, the Nutrition Twins. But
Pinterest.
Yeah.
Pinterest are a
Is
big
it
one.
the Nutrition Twins or is it Nutrition Twins?
Nutrition Twins. Nutrition
Gotcha.
Twins.
Okay, so
Yeah.
nutritiontwins.com, everyone
Yes.
listening.
Yes.
And so go check them out. I'm on their website right now, and I'm loving your blog with your recipes. You guys have
Thank you.
super compelling topics that I would recommend everyone check out.
Oh,
And
thank you,
you
Leslie.
guys do have a free gift. Looking at my other, so grab our 3 simple secrets to weight loss without relying on willpower.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we will
so
be,
we-
we're updating that. We're updating our giveaway actually to make it
Okay.
more relevant now, about like the stubborn, like hidden sneaky ways that that you're gaining fat and not knowing why.
Yeah, we're
So-
excited to get that out. It's a lot
Okay.
about the topic we discussed today. But
Yeah.
we'll get that soon.
Okay, guys,
Yeah.
so give them a visit. Go check out their work at nutritiontwins.com and check them out on Instagram as well. Same handle, Nutrition Twins.
Yes.
So,
Thank
all
you.
right. I
Thank you,
love this
Leslie.
conversation. We could
Thank
talk
you,
all day long.
Leslie.
Thank you for
but-
having us.
Just want to thank you both for sharing your wisdom. I know this was extremely valuable to our viewers. So again, visit these 2 wonderful ladies at nutritiontwins.com. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you next week. All right.
Thank you,
Bye.
Leslie.